Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel and thank you for joining me on this video. If you are new here and this is your first time on clicking on my videos, welcome to Easy Learning Studio. In this channel, I teach on how to make use of the Excel functions and then be able to navigate your way around the Excel and use the functions like a professional. So if you've not hit the subscribe button, please hit the subscribe button and do not forget to click on the likes button. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome once again. In today's video, I'm going to be teaching you on how to make use of the IFS function. In my previous video, I taught on how to use the if function, and then I'm going to quickly talk about the difference between the two, right? So when you're using the if function, you tend to nest it. Basically, they both carry out the same thing, the same function, right? But when you're using the if function, you tend to nest it. You tend to use multiple if while applying the function. But if's function, on the other hand, you tend to use it once. Instead of you nesting it, you do not nest it. You just use the if function once, and then you'll be able to get the results that you so desire. All right. So what you're going to learn in this video is how to use the ifs function in Excel. Now, you might probably be wondering, what exactly is the purpose of ifs function? Basically, it tests multiple conditions like logical tests, right? In a single formula without nesting many if statements. Like I earlier said, that the difference between the if function and the if function is when you make use of the if function, you tend to nest it so that you can be able to determine or get the second result, right? You know, the way if function works, it actually check through a particular argument and then return which is true or which is false. The first thing it does is this: it runs a particular argument, and if it is true based on the logical test that you have or the conditions that you have, it will return true. And if it is false, it will return false and move to the next argument. This is how if function works, right? So when using the if function, like I earlier said, instead of you nesting it, we don't nest. It is in the if function that you nest so that you can be able to get or determine the next result or outcome. But in the ifs function, you don't have to nest it. You just need to apply your formula once and then input your arguments, your logical test, and the Excel will return your result if it is true or if it is false. Another thing that if function does is this. Okay, I said it checks conditions in order, it check it from the left side to the right side and then be able to return the right result if it is true, if it is false, after checking through from the left to the right, from the left argument to the right argument. All right, so another thing that you need to put in mind is this: as soon as a condition is true, what Excel does is this: it returns true as the result, right? As the corresponding result. And if it is false, it returns false as the corresponding result. So the formula still remains the same, just like the one in the if function, right? Equals to ifs this time around and not if, right? Logical test, command, value if true, command, value if false. So that is a brief introduction about the ifs function. My name remains the same. I'm Achimalufin Israel. Please, if you've not subscribed, please kindly do that now. Please subscribe. When you subscribe, you will be notified anytime I upload new videos. And aside from that, it motivates me to be able to create more educational content like this so that it can actually help you in your Excel journey. Now, let us try and practicalize everything I've said so far. Now we have a task here. This is a table of um, some products that are being sold in a supermarket, right? Based on the products, the supermarket have been able to make some revenues, right? And the owner of the supermarket now says that, all right, so there are some products that are not really moving fast like that. So I'm going to screen them based on the revenue that we've made so far, right? So now we have a list of products from candles to padlock, which is the last um, on the list here. So, and then the third column happens to be the revenue. The fourth column, which is column D, is the revenue remark. And that is where we want to input our result after running the if functions. If candles is going to be replaced or is going to be retained. Excel will tell us after running the if functions, right, and applying the logical text or conditions that has been given to us. All right, so the task is determine which products should be retained or replaced based on the revenue below 100,000. So we are going to use the if function now to be able to run these products and then also alongside with their revenues and be able to determine the one that is going to be replaced. Note, the one that is going to be replaced is the one that has a revenue lower than 100,000, and the one that is going to be retained is a product that has a revenue that is above 100,000. So now let us apply the function. So we start with equal to ifs. We are using ifs this time around. So double click, and then what is the logical test? This logical test is this: you are making use of the first revenue. Is greater than or equal to 100,000. Yeah, this is it. Command, and then you input retained. Yes, retained. Now, this is it. So here we have equal to ifs. The logical test is this, or the conditions. If 45,780, which is the C2, is greater than or equal to 100,000, I'm telling Excel to return retained. And if not, you apply the logical test again. If it is lower or equal to 100,000, you're telling Excel to return replaced. And then you close the bracket. Now, let me explain this um, argument again, right? So we have equal to ifs, open brackets. The C2 here happens to be the first revenue here. We are using it as the identifier here, the guide. So if it is greater, and this particular value is greater than or equal to 100,000, so telling Excel to return retained, which means that we are going to retain the product now. So I need to apply the second argument, which is this: if the revenue is lower than 100,000 or equal to 100,000, I'm saying that Excel should return replaced, right? Now note that the difference between the ifs and the if function is this. In the if functions, I would have applied another if, like by nesting if, something like this, right? So we call it nesting. I would have nested the if, right? But in ifs function, I don't have to nest anything. All I need to do is just to apply all my arguments. The one ifs that I've applied at the beginning of my formula is enough to run the whole argument, right? All right, so another thing that you need to note is this: if I had applied another if and open another bracket, it means that I must close it with the number of brackets that I've opened. But in this case, I don't need that since I'm using the ifs function, right? And I've opened one bracket, so definitely I must close it with one bracket. So now I'm done with my um, argument. So let me just click on the enter button. Yes, so let me track it down and let's see. Yes, can we see? Now, this particular product, candles, the revenue is 45,780, which is lower than 100,000. So definitely it must be replaced. Noodles is above 100,000, it is 2 million. So it must be retained, right? Palm oil is above 100,000, it is 430,000. So it must be retained. Same thing goes to yogurt. It is above the revenue, right? Which is 850,000, it must be retained. Now let us look at the nuts here. You can see that the revenue of the nuts is 55,000 and it is lower than our condition here, right, which is 100,000. So it must be replaced. Same thing goes to palm oil, which is 25,000 and padlock 15,760. So both of them must be replaced. So this is how to use the ifs function. Now let us look at the last task here. So we have the scores of some students, right? And the teacher wants to grade the student using the ifs function. He wants to grade the student and also add a remark using the ifs function. In my previous video, I've actually used something like this, right? This kind of example, right? But I made use of the if function, right? But in this video, I'm going to be using the ifs function so that you can be able to see that the ifs function is very easy to use compared to the if function, right? So now we have the grade here or equal to, let's start with the formula, equal to ifs. We are making use of the ifs now, right? If so, the logical test is this: if this is greater than or equal to 75, then Excel should return A1. The A1 must be in quotation marks, please. Right, so the next one, I don't need to apply another if or to nest the if. I'm using the ifs function. So I just need to apply all my logical test. The second logical test is this: it's greater than or equal to 70, and it is B2. So apply all the logical tests. I'm applying the third logical test. It's greater than or equal to 65. And Excel should return B2. C4. C5. Five. Alright, so now look at the functions and the arguments here. Now you can see here, remember I said that when you are making use of the ifs function, now what the if function does is this. It scans through the argument from the left side to the right side, right? And then be able to return the corresponding result, right? So now let's look at it here. The first one is this. 70, which is the E2. If E2 is greater than 75 or equal to 75, so I'm telling Excel to return A1. So Excel is going to scan it and see if the argument is actually correct. If the argument, the logical text is actually correct, Excel is going to return A1. And if it's not correct, Excel will skip it, return false, and then move to the next one and check. Excel will not return false. It's going to move to the next one and check if the second one aligns firmly with the logical test, right? And if the second one actually aligns firmly with it, it's going to return true, right? And if not, Excel will go on and then keep on scanning through from the left side to the right side until Excel is able to find the right answer. And once it finds the right answer, it could be true, it could be false, it will return the corresponding result. Now I've input the arguments. The next thing is just to hit the enter button. Yes, here we have P2. So what Excel does is after scanning through all the arguments, Excel realizes that this 70 doesn't fall under the first logical test, which is A1, and then it doesn't fall under the third one, which is 65, B3, C4, C5, and so on and so forth. It falls under the second logical test, which is B2, and Excel returns B2. So this is how Excel works. And this is how the if functions work. So all you need to do is just retract down, and then you have the results, the grade of the remaining one. So let's quickly apply the formula to the last one, which is the remark now. So equal to ifs, we are using the ifs. The logical test is this: if this is greater than or equal to 75, so Excel should return excellent. That's your remark. But if not, Excel should move to the next logical text or argument and scan through to see if probably it aligns with the 70. Right, so we have this equal to 70. Then we have very good. Alright, so now I'm done writing the formula and then the logic test with the arguments. So now I'm going to quickly explain before I click or hit the enter button. Right, we are making use of the use function, and like earlier said, this function is much more easier to use than the if function. The if I mean I'm using the if function, you would have seen that I would have nested it with a lot of if, right? So if you don't know how to make use of the if function, I would advise that you check my previous video. There I was able to explain on how to use the if function. So in the if function, I don't need to nest it or to use a multiple ifs, right? I only need to use just one ifs and apply my logical test and my arguments, and I'll still get the exact result. All right, so now this is what I'm telling Excel to do for me with the use of the ifs function. I'm telling Excel that Excel to check for me using the 70 score as a guide. That if 70 is above 75, what Excel should do for me is this. Excel should return excellent as its remark. But if it is not, Excel should move to the next one, next argument, and say if it corresponds with what I want Excel to do for me. So if it is equal to 70, Excel should return very good as the remark for me. And if not, Excel should move to the next one until Excel is able to scan through all the arguments and then be able to return which is correct, the corresponding result. It could be excellent, it could be very good, it could be good, it could be credit, it could be pass, and then it could be fail. So that is what I want Excel to do for me with the use of this if function. All right, so let me hit the enter button and see what the result will be. Yes, very good. Yes, as you can see here, that 70 falls under very good. Yeah, so which is actually correct. So this is how to make use of the is function. So I want to believe that you have been able to learn how to make use of the use function. It's not difficult. So try this at home, right? So there's a saying that says practice makes perfect. Ensure that you keep on trying until you are able to perfect it. My name remains the same, and my name is Israel Aji Malofin. So if you've not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button and do not forget to hit the likes button as well. And if you've benefited from this video, kindly share with friends and family so that they can also learn how to navigate their way around Excel using the basic Excel functions. Thank you so much.